No line at the DMV, that's usually a good thing, but today it was anything but. BART's considering putting enclosures over entrances like these to protect the stairwell. Now, school officials wouldn't talk with us, but we found plenty of students that had a lot to say. Police Chief Greg Surge says what's the point of stop and frisk when his force is already getting guns off the street. Deaf Festival has tons of fun games and activities, but this event goes beyond a day of entertainment. What used to be a beautiful, pristine pond has become overrun with this green stuff. Now, some of this produce is conventionally grown like this tomato here, and others are organically grown like this one, which is also known to be a little bit pricey. Police cleared the scene here only a few hours ago, but not before retrieving a body out of the water. The body was found floating just 4 or 5 feet away from this pier. From now on, the southern hemisphere is going to get tilted towards the sun a little bit more than we are, and we're going to start experiencing that cooler weather. Now, as the night goes on, the results are coming in, and the candidates are neck and neck. As you can see, the shuttle is finally on the platform. It's making its way to the hangar and finishing what Jeffrey Rudolph calls the longest parade in LA history. At the Science Center, Emily Davies for Valley View News. You may have thought seeing a space shuttle atop a Boeing 747 was an impressive sight. It was, but the second part of its homecoming trip is on a different level, street level. Around 2 in the morning at LAX, it starts making its way out of the airport, through city streets to its permanent home at the California Science Center. Despite the early hours, people crowded the sidewalks to catch a glimpse of history.
There's a lot of people that are missing this because they're sleeping, but they should be here, and it's great because this is like history. It's history, and we're part of it.
The shuttle's wingspan is as long as a tennis court. Add a half court to that, and you have just short of its body length. It took 9 months of planning to remove signs, trees, and other obstructions, as well as fortifying streets to take the weight of Endeavor. On top of that, the shuttle can only move at most 2 miles an hour, taking it nearly 6 hours to reach its first stop here in Inglewood. The venture has rung up quite a bill too, but donors like Linda Ocean and her late husband's foundation gave generously.
It's my husband's love: astronomy, space, travel, math, children, inspiration. It's everything that he loved rolled into one.
The Science Center has received about half of its $200 million fundraising goal. This will pay for building the ship's temporary hangar and constructing a new permanent building. CSC's president Jeff Rudolph says the arduous trip is worth it.
Kids wanting to become astronauts, wanting to study science, and that's what we're really in this for.
Now, the shuttle Endeavor is just taking a little pit stop. It's going to stay here for about 9 hours before it gets back on its trip to the California Science Center. In LA, Emily Davies for Valley View News. So I decided to go to LA City Hall. That's where people celebrated Deaf Awareness Month for what they call Deaf Festival.
I'm proud to be deaf.
And she's not alone. Hundreds celebrated deaf culture at Los Angeles' 9th annual Deaf Festival. People enjoyed a fashion show with deaf designers and models, and a Deaf's Got Talent competition. Dozens of vendors also came out to provide information and show some deaf-inspired products like this clothing line. Deaf Festival has tons of fun games and activities, but this event goes beyond a day of entertainment. What these people call deaf culture is about pride, expression, and how they describe themselves.
Some people think deafness is a disability, but it's not. It's just a different way of living.
We are very capable of doing anything that we put our minds to. We have educators, businessmen, and big deaf actors too.
One foundation also applies this philosophy to deaf dogs.
Some people consider them disabled, and we don't, just like we don't consider deaf people disabled.
Bertha Velasquez started the event in 1999 because of her deaf daughter.
I thought there was a need for it. I would travel far for her to participate in deaf activities.
Deaf Festival provides a place for those who understand deaf culture to meet and those who don't understand to learn.
So it's just about, don't be scared to, write something down or just try to communicate with us. A lot of us can lip read, but some of us can't. And it's not a struggle just to write things down, so don't be afraid to approach us.
From LA City Hall, Emily Davies for Valley View News.
It wakes you up in the morning, that's for sure.
San Francisco BART riders like David Schwabe are getting a good whiff of pools of human waste sitting in escalated machinery at the Civic Center station. Homeless people can be found throughout the station, and with limited public restroom facilities, BART spokesman Jim Allison says they sometimes get desperate.
There are people who sometimes go into the escalator wells, stairwells, and sleep there because they have nowhere else to go apparently, or feel they have nowhere else to go. and sometimes, of course, they go to the bathroom.
The grates at the bottom of the escalators are not sealed, and the waste simply slips through and piles up. Recently, BART engineers went to work on one of 9 broken escalators and discovered so much waste, a hazardous material crew had to be called in to clear it out. The general consensus?
It's nasty.
Nasty. My dog. Nasty. Yeah.
Police say they have difficulty stopping this because offenders must be caught in the act in order for them to give a ticket. But many people seem sympathetic and say the lack of facilities is the real problem.
The bathroom facilities for the homeless, there aren't any, and you can't use the restrooms that normal people use because they won't let you.
Allison says the escalator problem is only a symptom of a bigger issue.
We have to look at the homelessness issue in a holistic way. It's not a BART-only problem, but BART needs to be at the table to look at solutions.
BART is considering putting enclosures over entrances like these to protect the stairwell. In San Francisco, Emily Davies, KTVU, Channel 2 News.
The CSUN women's soccer team captures its first Big West Conference title. Emily Davies is going to tell us all about it and more. Hey, Emily.
Hey, Mark. Yeah, that's right. The Lakers went into the game against Detroit Pistons looking for their first win of the season. Early in the first, Kobe on the fast break with a little shake and bake to put the Lakers up by 6. He messed around and nearly got a triple-double with 15 points, 7 rebounds, and 8 assists. World peace up the court to Darius Morris, the lob to Dwight Howard, and boom shakalaka. Midway through the third, Blake to Howard, and rest in peace, rim and net. Howard finished the game with 28 points and 7 rebounds. The Lakers went on to win 108-79.